you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away, as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music.
Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillard here. Hope you're all keeping well in the world right now.
Burn, baby, burn. Hello, everyone. Nice and toasty.
It is a bit, isn't it? So we are recording on this is going to be the hottest day of the year so far, hasn't it? 31. Apparently, it's going up to around these parts. Like it's almost half naked cage fighting. This feels like it should be cage fighting after dark. At this point, to be fair, it might be a little bit cooler if we did it after dark.
Yeah, not in literally the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah, I think we may have timed this badly. Never mind. Stu, did you have a good weekend? Glasgow weekend? See anybody particularly enjoyed?
Prodigy, obviously. The whole 1975 thing. It's a baffling. It's a can of worms that I didn't want to open, and then I watched it and I thought, actually, some of this stuff is all right if you don't look at him, because he's a bit of a fool, but
he's got a punchable face as well. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and he's Denise Walsh's son as well, which doesn't help his cause.
Did not know that. Right, okay.
Yeah, and Tim Healy, which is, you think, it balances out, but it doesn't. He's very much more her than him.
No, never mind.
Yeah, some of the camp stuff is all right, but then when they're trying to go hard rock, as they were doing with the old finger horns and all, it was all very embarrassing. But your bird Olivia, she was really good. I watched that this morning.
I do love a bit of Olivia. She was class. Like, I knew it'd be a good show. It does feel weird to have a 2-album person closing the show, but I knew it'd be a good performance regardless, because like Glastonbury always hits it at the park on the last night. Whether you like them or not, I think they generally put on a good show, and this was no exception.
In a weekend of weirdness, and some of the acts that were there, regardless of the controversial stuff, it just seemed to be a very strange mix of people. Or it was not one thing or the other, and you kind of expect that with multiple stages, but you had different things on the same stage.
And I feel like Neil Young's a real odd choice for a headliner. Like he's very big in one specific world, whereas you tend to find with Glasgow they tend to be a little bit more all-encompassing. I don't know. I found that a very odd choice. And I also don't really think the 1975 are that big a deal to be headlining either.
Well,
it was a weird Glasgow.
For people over 35. Oh, there you are. That's why we're recording today, because I lost my voice cheering the under-21s winning the Euros. But retaining the Euros title, let's put that even better. And it's still a bit of a croak there. So your audio's fine. It's me. But yeah, I had this thing that, like, Jolene, she's 28, so she's very much more their audience than us. And she was like, "Yeah, I knew that this would happen." You know, all the old dars on Twitter moaning about them, and you look at that field, and it was full. Well, yeah, clearly we that's their audience. That's the people who've paid 400 quid to go and see them.
Dear me. That is a dear, isn't it?
But I thought I think Shed 7 were excellent. So that was one I didn't expect to see. And obviously Libertines being Libertines, so that was no surprise. But yeah, Shed 7 was the surprise for me. And I kind of, they've always been there, like the C tier of the 90s Britpop stuff for me. I lump them in with James kind of unfairly when you listen to some of the bangers, but you don't really see them around and no one talks about them ever. And yet, they're in one of the little stage of the little roof on it. And they were great.
All right, okay. I'm gonna have to check them out because, like I'd said to you, the only song that I know by name would be "Disco Down," which is an absolute belter. To be fair, so I don't know enough. I might know it if I heard it, but like just the name of it doesn't evoke any memories whatsoever. I quite enjoyed Pulp, but I knew I would, and I thought Alanis Morissette was decent.
Oh yeah, she was.
I saw bits of the Lewis Capaldi one because I saw him.
Yeah,
the last time, obviously, when he had his incident, I like his music isn't really my cup of tea, but he did bring a tear to the eye to see that triumphant return. That was really cool to see after what we witnessed. 2023 was it when that happened?
2 years ago, and the fact that he said he'd like you could see him tearing up when he started singing the song that he failed on last time.
Yeah,
which is what started all his jerking and whatever happened to him. So, it's a really bad. Was it a Tourette's attack that he had?
Yes, yeah, because I think he's got anxiety and Tourette's, and one sets the other off, and like it was horrible to see. Like it was quite emotional seeing. I remember when it happened, and you could see the fans sort of like just took over for him. But like it was heartbreaking for him. But yeah, it was great to see him return after that incident.
Yeah.
Right, Stu, it's been long promised, but we're back for our sub 90 minutes, 2000 to 2019 films. And then we're going to be talking about Nick Cage's directorial debut. Seems the wrong word because it's the only film that he's ever directed, but it's a film called Sonny from 2002.
Amazingly.
Yeah, fucking hell. A lifetime ago, basically. Right, okay, Stu. So let's just get straight into our top 5. Much like last time, like you've covered pretty much most of the films that would have been in my top 5, so I've gone with a slightly different bent and one to a little bit more cult classic-y, I think. Probably didn't do very well at the box office, but have got a bit of a following, and I think more people should see them. So to that end, my first film is a film called Days of Bagnalled Summer from 2019. It is Simon Bird's directorial debut, so Will from The Inbetweeners. It stars Monica Dolan, Tim Key, Rob Brydon, Tamsin Gregg, Ali Sloan. Like, it's a really good comedic cast. And it's this very gentle drama comedy, coming of age story about a kid called Daniel, who is this angsty teen metalhead. He planned to visit his father in Florida. Last minute, all the plans got cancelled, so he ends up having to spend the summer with his librarian mother. So it's very much two ends of this spectrum. It's really awkward and strained between them. As the film unfolds, like, they start to realise that they're two people who are struggling with just being a human, to be perfectly honest. Like, it's a film about isolation and about repression and grief and like the mundanity of everyday existence while searching for this identity, both as like the youngster in this film and as the grown-up mother in it. It's really sweet and heartwarming and earnest, and I really liked this film. When I'd heard that it was Will from The Inbetweeners, I think I went in expecting something completely different, but it actually had a lot of heart. Like, the comedy comes from small moments rather than exaggerated moments like The Inbetweeners does. It's a really good film that I think is worth checking out. And if you like Tim Key, it's very much in keeping with like The Ballad of Wallace Island, which was released last month. In 2025, depending on where you're listening to this podcast. Great film, and not enough people have seen it.
Yeah, because you kind of think of it like James Buckley is just the same character in real life.
Yeah.
The other three don't seem to be. They'll seem to be actually actors rather than just playing themselves like he did. And you can kind of see why he's not really done anything else. But it doesn't surprise me at all because they are very talented, all of them.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I think you'd enjoy it. I think you'd get a kick out of it, to be honest, Stu, because it's got that indie sensibility, but with like a proper Britishness to it. It's got that stiff upper lip that you expect with British nonsense, and yeah, I do think you'd get a kick out of that one.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like that's screener film that we had a few years ago. The one in the hotel. There was
Yes, yeah, the one with Joe Wilkinson.
yeah. Similar kind of vibe to that by the sounds of that.
Yeah, like tonally very similar.
Yeah. Hmm. Intriguing. I mean, I know that you've seen my number 5 and it is would it be fair to say that Crank was the first one of the return to form of the stupid film?
It certainly feels like it, doesn't it? Like it feels like that's when high intensity batshittery came back in full force and was accepted by the mainstream.
I mean, it is 2006 as well, so you are talking nearly 20 years ago. Incredibly. But like we said it a few weeks ago about the 80s kind of comedy action film. And you had the kind of outrageousness of the early 90s, and it seems to have like a whole decade hiatus. And Crank seemed to be the one that brought it back because I know Jason Statham just seems to be doing the same thing over and over again, but he's very
Mhm.
good at it, and there's a reason why.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, it's
It
I mean, I look at one person army action is what it says on IMDb. And the fact that it's a 6.9 as well, I couldn't believe that.
it is pretty well regarded, isn't it? I think because it appeals to people who like that, like you said, the 80s action stuff. But this is basically Grand Theft Auto on screen.
Yeah.
So I think it's got that too. And plus, people do love Jason Statham. And I think when you look at Statham prior to this, Pink Panther, Chaos, Revolver, Transporter 2, like his stock was starting to slip a little bit, I think, in the mid noughties. And I think this is the film that really brought him back to prominence.
Mhm.
And then obviously he's then gone on from this to Crank 2, The Expendables, films that are silly, but kind of loved as well. And I think this is the film that turned his career slightly, turned it back onto track.
Yeah. And you look at him now and it like Beekeeper, brilliant film. Exactly.
Beekeeper. Can't wait for the fucking sequel to that.
And the one from this year, Working Man, again. You know exactly what you're gonna get going into it.
Mm.
And I don't think anyone talked about that one though. It kind of got lost as it came out, and it was probably in the cinema for 2 weeks, and then it was straight to Prime.
Yeah, I don't think the working man. I think the problem was the working man promised the beekeeper and then some, and he didn't quite deliver on it. I think because it was only 12 months after the beekeeper, it suffered in comparison. Like there wasn't enough of a gap between us. I think that's probably why it didn't work quite as well. He's great in it doing his Statham thing, but yeah, it didn't hit me quite the way the beekeeper did. Like, I'm excited for a Beekeeper sequel. I'm not excited for a Working Man sequel.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think someone said that, like, we've got this world of Jason Statham being doing a job, but also being a badass because we've got, like, the Transporter and all these other films as well. And the Working Man promised so much, and there was one fight scene where he was on in a actually as a working man, where he used his spanners and stuff, and then he went off. I wanted a bit more of him being a brickie and knocking the shit out of somebody, and we didn't quite get there.
Yeah, it felt like the TV movie version of The Beekeeper. That's what it
That's
seemed.
it. Yeah, that's spot on. That is true. Yeah. Number 4 for me is a film called Francis Ha from 2012. Like on the surface, this is a story of that liminal space between young adulthood and being an actual responsible grown up. It's about an aspiring dancer called Frances who is living in New York City when her best friend and roommate moves out to pursue a more conventional life. You know, moving in with her boyfriend to then get engaged, etc. Whereas Frances is more adrift here. She is couch surfing. She's struggling to find any stability in work and relationships and just life in general. It's the misadventures that Frances goes on throughout this film that teaches her about the limitations and redefines what success is in her life and what life actually means. Like, not everyone who dreams of being a Broadway star can achieve that. Like, maybe I'm talking about myself here. But like sometimes we just have to take a step back and realize that we might all want to be famous, but that isn't going to happen for everybody. And sometimes you just need to redefine what life is. It's a film about identity and authenticity and friendship and honesty and truth. It's that rare film as well where I think it doesn't define the lead female character by their male relationships. Like there's no love interest in this film. And that's quite refreshing for a film about a woman. It was really good. You can see the footprints of this film, how it's gone on into like A24. This is an A24 film a year before A24 even existed.
Hmm.
Also, after a couple of like underwhelming writing credits, this is the film which launched Greta Gerwig as a creative force behind the camera. And like she's now got 4 Oscar nominations in the 3 films that followed this movie. So it's an important film for that in the modern day as much as anything else. It's black and white as well, Stu, so it's properly my kind of
Oh,
film.
of course it is. I mean, I was just about to say, this either needs to be foreign or black and white to just tick all the boxes.
Yeah, really does. Well, I like Noah Baumbach as well, who was the co-writer and director on this one. So he did Marriage Story, which I think is just fucking one of the best films of the 21st century and doesn't get spoken about enough. So like on a lot of levels, this film works for me. And I think if I'd have seen it in 2012, this would probably be one of my favorite films of all time. Now it's a 42-year-old man who's a bit more established in his adulthood, quote unquote. It's like, it's good to see it and recognize that I went through similar things at that age, that sort of youth and young manhood when you're trying to figure out who you are. I think if you were 30 now, you'd probably get a lot out of this film.
Interesting.
Mm.
This is that's the kind of film that I think of when you say sub 90-minute film.
Mhm.
Something like that.
Yeah, 'cause I think you either get ones that are properly earnest and stripped down, or you get ones that are silly and fun, like Crank. Like that's a 90-minute to me as well.
Yeah.
It's either like this the two ends of the spectrum.
I mean, I think that this one, I mean, I couldn't believe it was this short in my number 4 phone booth. How is it over in 21 minutes, son? How did that even get made?
Yeah, so they pack everything into that really short runtime. I think what helps it is because it is one location.
Yeah. And it works, and it's obviously on the back of the 24 success, especially so with Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, that was
Yeah.
kind of ruined because everyone knew what he looked like. So the whole thing.
There was no surprise, was there?
Yeah. But then like getting an unknown voice on the other end of the fans just turn up. You know, spoilers, 23 years old. You got time. But yeah, I remember watching this at the cinema. Obviously, the reason being because of 24, and him being in there. Not really. I've probably seen Colin Farrell and a few things, but not really. But I thought he was absolutely superb. I hadn't seen anything quite like that before, especially like you said, in one location with that kind of level of actual star in it.
Yeah.
Very unique and something that hasn't been copied really that much. Where you think this is a formula that clearly worked. I mean, I never checked how much did it make. I presume it made quite a lot because everyone talked about it at the time. What does it never tell you? Oh, there you are.
Yep.
So the budget estimated 13 million, gross worldwide 98.
That's a good return, isn't it?
On a film that's airing 21 minutes long. Super return. But yeah, when you get a guy, just a random guy answering the phone and that being the premise of the film. You think, well, that's awful, but it's engrossing, probably the word, more than anything
Mm.
else.
Yeah, I remember going into this film knowing the only thing I knew was that it was Colin Farrell. And I think if I remember correctly, in 2002, he was becoming a bit mainstream at this point. And I think people were starting to be a bit more detracting towards him. Like, because he's this handsome foreign guy from, the Emerald Isles. I think Hollywood had embraced him, and the mainstream were a bit like, "Oh, is he actually that good?" I remember going in and seeing it and just thinking it was this great one-man performance for pretty much 90% of this film. It's just him and a voice on the end of the line. Yeah, he absolutely smashed it. And I remember, because like yourself, I was a fan of 24, and when I saw this film, immediately as soon as you hear Kiefer Sutherland's voice, like, "Oh, that's Kiefer Sutherland." But there was no pretense to it whatsoever, because he was so recognizable at that point in his career. But yeah, great film.
I mean, you do think, I mean, he didn't really do voiceover stuff either. I mean, it's effectively a voiceover role. This is more than
Yeah.
anything else. And then he
Like,
went to
do we see like the odd split second of him here and there? And that's pretty much it.
and he then went on to voice Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah.
Which was controversial anyway, because David Hayter was replaced because of him. But I don't think he was okay in it. I thought he was fine. He just didn't need that star appeal of him, really. But he did a decent job. But like everything else, he's a decent singer as well. It's almost unfair.
Yeah, jack of all trades, isn't he? I think he's done well. But he's kind of disappeared a little bit now. Like, I don't see a lot of Kiefer Sutherland stuff. I mean, I couldn't even tell you the last film of his that I went to see.
He's been doing TV. He did that thing that's on ITV, on ITVX.
Is it the one where he plays is he a president or some kind?
No, that's Designated Survivor. That is. That's on Netflix.
That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah. Oh, he's got a few bits.
Rabbit
like
Hole.
The First Lady, Creep Show. Like, he's done bits and. Am I looking at the right one here?
Rabbit Hole is the one on ITVX. That's really good. That is.
Okay. I don't think I know that one.
No, I think it's just been buried. I don't even know where it came. Well, down a rabbit hole, literally.
Yeah, he got bits and bobs, but I think the problem is that 24 was such a dominating thing that it was very difficult for him to escape that type of role afterwards. But yeah, great show. Keeping it Emerald Isle, I suppose, then. 2006 is Once. So this is director John Carner. He's made 4 very good films, which are all centre around the importance of musical and artistic expressionism. This is the first one of those. So Once is a very low-budget Irish musical drama about a street busker guy who has a chance meeting with Girl. They don't ever name these characters. They bond over their love of music. They collaborate on a song, on a songwriting, which is then recorded for a demo together, and they begin to fall in love, like, whilst being entangled in this complicated historic past relationships that they have. This is not a story of love overcoming all. It's rather a story about the power of that one beautiful moment and connection, however fleeting it may be. It's about love and longing and intimacy, emotional honesty, and how music and art can elevate. You will probably know this from the Oscar-winning song Falling Slowly. There was also a Tony Award-winning adaptation on the West. I got to see this on the West End. It had someone in it, a boy band member from Point Break, if you remember them, Stu.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the version I saw had him, but Arthur Darvill, Stupid Rory from Doctor Who, he was in the West. Sorry, he was in the Broadway production of it. I think he even won Tony Award for Best Male Performance that year. It was a really good show. I think it only ran for a few years there, but the film itself is wonderful. And I'd say do the trilogy. Like, it's an unofficial trilogy of John Carver Irish musicals. So you've got Once, you've got Sing Straight, which I'm sure I've recommended to you before.
I've seen that, I think.
It's the one about the Catholic school kids who formed their own band. Fucking brilliant. I watched it again a couple of maybe last month actually.
We talked about
Brilliant
that kind of
film.
trip before.
We definitely have. And the other one would be Flora and Son, which stars Eve Hewson, which is Bono's daughter. But she's really good, and I couldn't like Bono. So yeah, that's like that would be a wonderful Irish musical unofficial trilogy of John Carney, sorry, not Carner. He also did another film which was musical set with Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo. I can't remember what it's called, but so like he's obviously got a thing for musical stuff, and I'd definitely say watch his 3 Irish films. They're fantastic.
Hmm.
Begin Again. That's the one with Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo. That's the only one I haven't seen of his. And looking on IMDb, it's got 7.4, so that looks like that's a decent film too. But yeah, I do like he clearly he knows his music and he puts it front and center in his movies. So I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah. And it sounds like one of them that it's more of a passion project than anything else.
Mm-hmm. I think so, because like it's towards a very niche audience, and if you like it, you'll really like it.
Yeah.
And I think like if you've seen Sing Street, if you like that, I think you'll like both of the 2 films that I mentioned of his.
Yeah. I'm sure. Why would we have talked about it? Maybe in Belfast, obviously different island. I know before you were all writing. Probably around then.
Potentially, because it's a film that I've got a lot of love for anyway. So
we never mentioned it when we were talking about actual musicals, did we?
No, I mean it's one of those things because they've got music in them, but they're not musicals in that they break out of what they're doing to give the song that the music is diegetic, or is it I can never remember which diegetic or non-diegetic. One of them is where they can hear it themselves. It's that one. Yeah, but great films, all 3 of them brilliant. But yeah, this is the only one that fits in. I think it's 86 minutes, 84 minutes. So yeah, you can knock that out in a long lunch break.
It's going to be knocking one out. When the Wallace and Gromit, the Curse the Were Rabbit, you'd have to be some kind of weirdo or refer to. And is there a plasticine version of a furry? And I'd imagine so. There's something for everyone.
Almost certainly, yeah. There's always something for everyone.
But I only saw this properly about a month ago.
Oh wow, okay.
I thought I'd seen it. I might have done. It was one because it was the first one that was actually feature length, wasn't it? Because you had run trousers, close shave, were about 30 minutes. Obviously, the first one was under 30 minutes, and then this, and I'm pretty sure I did see it, but I couldn't remember hardly anything about it. But when we watched the new one at Christmas, I thought, well, I need to catch up on Wallace and Gromit, and for the deep lore that's involved in it all. And I was watching, I thought, I can't remember watching this ever. But I clearly did at some point. Maybe it was another one I had to tick off the box. But yeah, great. I thought we'd go into... I remember at the time thinking, this is not a good idea. These are 30-minute things. They work as 30-minute things. You turn it into a film, it's going to flop. But then you've got Ralph Fiennes and Helen Bonham Carter, and you think it's not going to flop, is it? Clearly.
It's a proper cast, isn't it, for this silly little thing? But yeah.
And it works. God knows how long it took them, but it works perfectly. And Wallace and Gromit is brilliant at all times. So this one is probably the most British thing ever out of all of them.
I think so. I think even compared to like Vengeance Most Foul, like I said, the most recent one, and that one seems to have been kind of adored worldwide. Vengeance Most Foul. I've heard American podcasts talking about it, and that just feels so weird for Wallace and Gromit.
I think it was Netflix, wasn't it? Because it was on there.
Yeah.
So it opened up. And amazingly though, like that, when I listened to Constellation, who's got an animated Sesame Streets and Sesame Workshop animator on there, and he said like Wallace and Gromit was one of them things in the industry that was revolutionary because they'd never seen anything like it before. So it is held to a massive high esteem by people in the know. So
Yeah.
if that's trickling down to normal people on podcasts, then it makes some kind of sense, and probably why it was on Netflix.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just looking on the Wikipedia page because one of my mentions was going to be everything Wallace and Gromit related because they all fall in at under 90
Yeah.
minutes, don't they? So I thought everything, just a lot of it. 1989 was a grand day out.
Mhm.
I did not realise that it started in the 80s because the first thing I ever saw of Wallace and Gromit was Curse of the Were Rabbit. I never really paid it any attention before then. And then watched that and I was like, "Oh shit, I need to watch all of these because if that's the standard, this is gonna be fantastic." But yeah, I didn't realise it went back to the 80s. That's kind of incredible to see what they've done. I know obviously it's effectively a camera and plasticine, but it's incredible what they've done with this. You are right, like there's a reason it's the industry leader in these kind of things. It's just incredible what they've achieved with it.
The first one I remember, I watched it around my granddad's house, and he used to do like little silly little drawings and stuff, and he used to do like remember flick books.
Yes. Yeah,
He used to I mean, he was retired, so nothing else to do. And he was a printer as well, so he used to have loads of these little flick books, and so he'd do these little flick books of animations and things, spent all week making these silly little stories for about 30 seconds long at most. So I remember watching it with him, and him just being absolutely in awe of it all. It's like, "Oh, I can't believe it! It's brilliant." He was strange. He was a Villa fan, so bizarre, but yeah, he was again one of them people. I watched it because he watched animation, and that was what he wanted to be. But obviously, being in Wolverhampton and Birmingham in the 60s, maybe 70s, I'm guessing that there wasn't much opportunity for that thing to happen. So he went into being a printer instead.
Did you ever watch Trapdoor back in the day?
There's something down there.
I love Trapdoor. Like, I think that's why I kind of like having watched that is why I like stuff like Wallace and Gromit and anything claymation, because it is amazing that it's animation, but it's not animation. Like, obviously, they are physical creatures moving around. But yeah, outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be pretty strange to be scared of animation, stop motion animation, haven't you?
It is weird, isn't it? It is very weird. Did you watch the Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon a couple of years back? The Oscar-nominated Farmageddon.
Yes. I used to watch the Shaun the Sheep things on CBeebies though. So
okay, right.
That was one of them things back then because Rob was what? When was Shaun the Sheep? At 2005, 6-ish? Like
The film was 2015, so 2007 to present day. It's still running, is it?
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, so
2007.
So that makes sense. So he would have been 4 in 2007. So it would have been on CBeebies at that time. So yeah. So Shaun the Sheep was one of them things that I paid close attention to actually watching with him.
Okay. I've seen most of the other stuff. I don't think I've seen any of the Shaun the Sheep show, only the feature length stuff that they've done with it. And again, it's surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, CBeebies, it shouldn't really be the kind of thing that I'd be paying attention to. But then when having watched the film, it's like, actually, there's more to this than it just being for children.
Yeah, and that is the point of it all. That Nick Park, I don't think Nick Park's personally involved in it anymore, especially like Shaun the Sheep. I wouldn't imagine so. But
Right.
the whole ethos of that studio is we're making this for big kids, and then little kids will enjoy it more as well. And you can see that come through in spades.
It's what you want, isn't it? I mean, like we've often said about with animated films, it's got to be enough for the kids to keep interested, but you want something that the adults are also going to enjoy. So it's got to be available to all ages. And I think that's the beauty of anything Wallace and Gromit related. It is available to everybody.
Yeah.
My number 2, Tucker and Dale versus Evil from 2010. Have you seen this, Stu?
I think I have. I'm going to say you recommended, but it was obviously must have been Goldie or Dim because that was a long time before this. Um, is it a parody though?
I mean, it is a satirization
Yeah.
of the horror genre, isn't it? I wouldn't say it's a parody as such.
That homage.
No, but it is very much like it is centered on one type of horror and satirizes it. Like, it very much subverts what you expect with Deliverance. I mean, I suppose Deliverance would be, this is a parody of Deliverance almost, I suppose is what you'd say. So it is a film that is about two hillbillies, Tucker and Dale, played by Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk. They go to spend a relaxing weekend at their cabin in the woods. And there is also this group of college-age students who are in the same woods at this period of time. They both bump into each other whilst they are fueling up their vehicles. The students take one look at these Deliverance-looking motherfuckers and assume that they are a pair of backwoods killers. One of the college students knocks herself unconscious and falls into the water. Tucker is there to pick her up and take her away and save her. The students see this happening and assume that he's taking her away to murder her. So it's all just this one big misunderstanding. But it's just this very funny film that is about miscommunication, about classism and toxic masculinity and stereotyping, like how judging how other people look can just lead to really dangerous situation. And it just satirizes, as I said, these horror tropes that we see about killer hillbillies and helpless college kids, the final girl trope. Everything is turned on his head throughout this film. It is this incredibly sincere and heartfelt movie, which is also very slapstick as well. I think, Stu, if you haven't seen it, you would love it.
I have seen it, yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of like a Netflix, like a film that I think got this second life on Netflix, and it's wonderful, really wonderful movie.
Yeah, it's because this is why, because I always thought it was a piss take of other films.
Yeah,
and your semi-hatred of that kind of thing in general, with exceptions of Naked Gun.
I don't like them when the joke is, have you seen this film? That's my problem with like Scary Movie and Epic Movie and all that shit. Like, there's no joke other than they've done this in The Ring. Do you remember The Ring? That's not a joke to me. Like, that's my issue with them. Whereas this doesn't do that. This is, if you've seen Deliverance, you'll know what we're doing and we're going to turn it on its head.
Mm.
It's much more knowing than it is.
Yeah, that's fair. It's more like Hot Shots.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the perfect comparison, I think. Yeah.
I need to see that again now. You solved it again. It's been a long time. I think I have seen it, bro. It's been a long time since I have. Because would that have been around the Hill? When was the Hills Have Eyes remake?
Ooh, that I think would have been about 2004. Hills Have Eyes, 2006.
Mm.
So a couple of 3 years before.
Yeah, because I remember, because I watched that and I actually liked that film. I know it got a lot of shit because
It's all right. Yeah, for what it was, much like the Dawn of the Dead remake. For what it was fine.
Yeah, and the whole Rob Zombie-ness of it all. I thought that's probably why I did watch this at the time, because I was very much in that mood.
That's fair. Have you seen, and this is one I probably should have put on this list actually, because I'm just looking now, it's 126 minutes long, from 2014, Zombievers. It's a zombie film, but when people get bit, they turn into zombies. They turn into beavers.
This is the same. This is like the one with the sheep.
Yeah, Black Sheep.
Yeah, Black
The
Sheep.
New Zealand one. Yeah, it's similar to that. In fairness, it is utterly bonkers, and it's it's a proper B movie classic. It's 4.8 on IMDb, so you know you're gonna have a good time with this shit. According to IMDb, it's 117 minutes long. But on Google, it's saying 126. But yeah, 1 hour, 17 is just bang on.
Yeah,
you'd like Zombievers, I think, as well.
I've seen Zombievers. I had all of them. That's why it automatically came to the Black Sheep in my head, because I watched them back to back one night.
Yeah, great film. Anyway, Stu, sorry, carry on. Oh, you're number 2. Kind of trailer to Zombievers there.
My number 2 is very different to Zombies. It's Sexy Beast from 2000, incredibly, 25 years old. You wouldn't think that this kind of gangster film would be that short either. Like, I know Aaron 29 is only just scraping into this list, but you normally they're normally 2 hours and that kind of thing. But this doesn't outstay its welcome whatsoever. It's nailed, it's tight, it's brilliant. Obviously, having them two, again, Ben Kingsley and Ray Winston, you're not going to get a bad performance, really, are you? I mean, Ian McShane as well, he is what he is, but I love this film. And it did remind me as well when I was floating around in the kids paddling pool earlier on today. When I was in studies. Yeah, no kids involved, kids are at school. But I thought, yeah, this very much resembles the cover of the DVD box of Sexy Beast. Slightly not as fat or old as Ray Winston was. But yeah,
How old was Ray Winston in that film?
oh no,
Let's have a look. I bet he was probably.
how old is he now?
Well, he's 68 now, and this film's 20 years. So he's 48. So he's a few years older than.
Well, I don't know. He was. It's 25 years old. This film is.
Oh, 25. Oh shit. So like he was a year older than you. Shit.
Jesus.
You'll take it though. It all works. It's fine.
Yeah. The shame. Utter shame. Yeah. The end of the kind of Guy Ritchie-fying gangster. What was it? It wasn't really a trope, was it? It wasn't a phenomenon. He just kind of came and went, and then kind of came back again in the last 5 years or so, where everything seemed to be gangster-based, London gangster abroad, all this kind of thing, and get like. Yeah, it's not a great thing.
Feel like it, doesn't it?
Like One Last Job.
I'd say probably a little bit late. I think Layer Cake was probably the last of the British
maybe.
ones, because that was shit, and I feel like it killed it, I should say, for a good sort of 15 years or so. Did you watch the TV series Sexy Beast? Like, was it last year?
Yeah.
Any good?
Yeah. I haven't seen the TV series of The Gentleman either, but people seem to like that, and I like the film, like we talked about earlier. So that it's the right time for these kind of things to be happening. But Sexy Beast is just the one that gets kind of overlooked a little bit because he is just Ray Winston. There's no Danny Dyer in this or any other lads or anything like that. It's a very mature film of this type, even if it is a bit of a dark comedy. But it's more like the what did I ever think of that film with Phil Collins in? Buster, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got more in common with Buster than Lock, Stock.
Okay.
But Buster's a great film.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, for some reason, I've never seen Sexy Beast, and I don't know how I've missed it. Because especially at that period of time, I liked Lock, Stock and Snatch and the British gangster kinds of things. I'd watched quite a few of them, so I don't know how that one ever sort of passed me by. But I'm just looking, and I didn't realise that it was Jonathan Glazer who was the director of it. Jonathan Glazer made Zone of Interest last 2023, but I think it was released in the UK last January. And Zone of Interest has been one of the most important films of the 21st century, obviously about the... Zone of Interest was the film which was set in the during the Second World War, and you follow a Nazi family living in, is it Belsen, I think it is. So you see the horrors happening.
Oh, that one.
The family. Yeah. So to find out that Jonathan Glazer made this film and that film, like, that just feels like two absolute extremes. I might need to give this a chance. I'm going to have to add it, bump it up on the list, I think.
Yeah, you'll definitely like it because it's one of them that it's more clever than it seems. And that kind of makes sense if that's what he's gone on to do.
Okay. Super. And he also did Under the Skin with ScarJo. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to do a bit of a dive into these, I think. Excellent. Right. Honorable mentions. You've mentioned a couple of ones that I would have put in mine. So, Crank would be in there, and as I said, I would have said all of the Wallace and Gromit things. A film called Elephant from 2003, which is based on the Columbine shooting massacre. Which I think was probably like it feels like that was the first one that really made waves. Especially in this country, at least, a really well-made film. I think it's Gus Van Sant. For some reason, I had a night of watching school shooter films. I watched The Ants, and we need to talk about Kevin, the Ezra Miller film. Really good. But yeah, Elephant. It's set entirely in the school, and as it's going through the day and all of the events, and it's like it's proper gut wrenching, kick to the bollocks feel of it. Well-made movie. The vast other end from that is Alan Partridge, Alpha Popper. Just a great film. I have said to Stu, we need to do a series of podcasts about Alan Partridge, I think, because I kind of want to do a rewatch of his stuff. So watch this space. But yeah, Alpha Popper is such a wonderful film that probably shouldn't have worked because, like you said, with Wallace and Gromit, they're half-an-hour things. So expanding it out to a film. And I find that films of TV shows often completely miss the mark. But Alpha Popper didn't. It was a great movie. And the other one that I mentioned Room for Romeo Brass last time, but Dead Man's Shoes, which is obviously Shane Meadows. And it's Paddy Considine's coming out party, isn't it? So yeah, that would be the other honourable mention for myself. Stu?
I couldn't believe that this is 2009. This was released. Black Dynamite.
Oh my god, I haven't seen that since probably. I think it must have just come out on DVD. It was the last time I saw it.
Yeah, I don't remember it ever being into cinema.
What a film that is!
But look, this is the thing. He's a super dad. He's out of sight. He's Black Dynamite. Ian, talking about parody action comedy films, 7.4 on IMDb.
It's a good, fun film.
Yeah. And there was another one with it. Oh, what was it called? There's another one that was a kind of piss take of blaxploitation films around the time.
Was it the one with Snoop Dogg? Was it Car Wash?
No. Blaxploitation movies. It was ridiculous. I guess it's not under 90 minutes though. I have to try and find it. I can't remember what it's called. I know me and Gold, we watched it together, and it was like, this shouldn't be made. It's too far.
I remember
Pootie Tang.
Oh my god, that is a throwback. Pootie Tang.
2001. It could have been
2001.
Yeah, hour and 21 minutes. Pootie Tang.
I like Chris Rock, so yeah, I completely forgot. JB Smooth's in it as well.
Yeah, Robert Vaughn, Coolidge. Wow.
Oh my god! And no, you just reminded me. Have you ever seen CB4?
Yeah,
that's a 1 hour 29 minutes, 1993. That could have been in last time out. And I'm Gonna Get You Sucker is another favourite blaxploitation parody film from the 80s. I bet that comes in at under 130 as well. I'm gonna have to check that. I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, 1988, 1 hour 29. So yeah, there's a couple of others that could have been out last time. Fucking hell. Kind of like those blaxploitation parodies that they were doing from back in the day.
Yeah, it was when people could have a laugh, and there's nothing wrong with them. It's not racist or anything like that. They're just silly.
No, they're parodying the films that probably were racist back in the day. These are saying like, this shouldn't have been acceptable, but we're going to take the piss out of it, because I think a lot of those blaxploitation films were embraced by black communities back in the day.
Have you seen this? It's not blaxploitation, but I'd never heard of it before. And I was watching a film with the interview with Elijah Wood the other day, So he's talking about Yellow Jackets, which again no one still hasn't seen. And he mentioned this film called Cooties.
Cooties.
2014. A mysterious virus hits an isolated elementary school, transforming the kids into a feral swarm of mass savages.
It sounds really familiar. Looking at it now, I don't think I have seen it, but I do vaguely remember it. This sounds like my kind of film. Body horror, dark comedy, parody, zombie horror. I haven't seen it, but looking at it, Elijah Wood, Rainn Wilson, Alison Pill, Jack McBrayer, Nassim Pedrad. It's even got fucking Hurley from Lost in it.
Yeah.
I should see this film.
Neither of us have seen it, so it can't go on the list.
No, but that does sound very much like my cup of tea. Lee Winnell wrote it, who did, didn't he do the original Saw, Lee Winnell? I feel like he did.
I mean, it's going to be sick if it is. And they're kind of...
Yeah, he was the original Saw, and he did The Invisible Man, which is a great film, Insidious, Aquaman, etc. Well, that's added to the list. That might even be tonight's viewing. Yes. Super. Excellent.
We had King of Kong as well, but it's documentary, so we didn't specify.
Yeah, I mean, that could have gone on the list. That's probably only about 80 minutes long, isn't it? Maybe not even that. It's a very good documentary. I never even thought of looking at what documentaries clock in at under 90 minutes, because it generally feels like they tend to be 2 hours, don't they? So, yeah, good shout that one is.
Yeah, I didn't want to go down the documentary route because there's too many of them. And then you are like things like March of the Penguins. I'm guessing that's not very long. And that was great as well.
Yeah.
But but then you get why you shoot them up not on this list, because it's not very good. But
yeah, that's true. I think that these, for me at least, these are all films that I think are good films as well as being under 90.
yeah,
Shoot 'em up probably doesn't quite, like, it's fun, but I don't think I'd recommend it to anyone because it's silly.
yeah, it's in the same stupid band as the that one, the Bullet one. Is it Wanted?
Yeah, like they're good for like one watch and probably never again, because I don't think they've got enough rewatchability. Whereas, I mean, even like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, it's silly, but it's actually a very good film in its own right anyway.
Yeah,
Like, whereas something like Zombievers probably wouldn't make worst. But it's fun, but it probably doesn't have that rewatchability. Right, okay. So my number one is Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping, which is, this is Spinal Tap for the millennial generation. I think it is. It's a mockumentary style comedy which follows former boy band member Connor For Real, played by Andy Samberg, as he tries to fight to stay relevant after his second solo album flopped and he's alienated his friends and collaborators. It's a satire of celebrity culture, manufactured pop stardom, and like the egocentric world in which we currently live. How musicality has basically become style over substance, both in its performance and the figureheads that sort of shape the current cultural musical landscape. It's a very funny film with some brilliant songs. Annoyingly though, my favourite song is Fuck Off, which was cut from the film, but it's on YouTube, so you can check it out. And I think if you watch that and enjoy it, you will probably get a lot from this film. It stars and is written by the Lonely Island guys, so Andy Samberg, Jorma Taccona, and Akiva Schaffer, and it was written and directed by the latter two as well. I think it's Akiva Schaffer who is doing the next Naked Gun film with Liam Neeson. So you know what you're getting with the Lonely Island boys. I think if you're a fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine or pretty much anything that you've ever seen Samberg, Taccona, or Schaffer in, you'll like this film because it's film the Lonely Island, basically.
That's the most Andre number one you've ever done in 4 or 5 years of this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's weird because this film did fail. I think it's got like a second life once it hit streaming, but at the cinema, like nobody gave a shit about it. I don't think it even made its money back, really bizarrely, because it's one of those films that everybody kind of likes. Spinal Tap, and this is Spinal Tap again. It's very bizarre that it didn't really find its audience.
When did this come out?
2016.
Yeah, I think it's almost like the end of the pop stars X Factor journey, though, ain't? That's probably what the problem is. Like oversaturation with all that stuff. Like if this had come out like when Hearsay got taken up with pop stars rivals,
Mm,
and Kelly, whatever year Kelly Clarkson was over there,
yeah.
then maybe it would have made sense. But if this is a long time gone after that, I mean, I went to see. When did I go and watch X Factor live? And that was about 2009. Watching the live heats of that, and that was a long time ago. So maybe it's one good idea, wrong time kind of thing.
Potentially. When it grossed 9.7 million against the 20 million budget, it just seems crazy to me, because those guys, like, you can sell a film on their names. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is just that it was the wrong time.
Yeah.
Brilliant movie, absolutely fantastic. Like, it stands up really well, and on repeat viewing, it still works as a film. And I think the clips still come across my FYP on my For You page on TikTok and YouTube and stuff. Like, there is a big cult following to this film that I think, had people have known at the time, it probably would have done a lot better in 2016.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be one of them things like the Screen Rant put up sometimes, and the things that pop out of that, like this forgotten gem of 2016 is now, and then you look and you think, oh yeah, it's on Netflix at the top. It's the number one film in the UK. Like, why?
It'll come out of nowhere.
Yeah. I think that's probably what the best chance it's got of doing anything now.
A bit like Palm Springs, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't really make much of a splash, and then it came on to, was it Prime, I think?
Yeah, it was on Prime.
And and again, it's another one that I think people genuinely seem to adore this film, but like, you won't find many people who knew about it when it was actually around originally.
Well, you even sold me on that and my hatred of that stuff happening. So
yeah,
and it was.
I mean, again, it's Andy Samberg again, isn't it? And I'm a big fan of his work. Kristen Milioti, who is fucking just wonderful in everything. Obviously, last seen in Penguin, ripping it up, and J.K. Simmons as well, who she's great in that film.
And everything he does most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for Whiplash when that's going back to Cineworld. I think it might even be next week. Looking forward to that. And they're doing La La Land again. I didn't get to see La La Land in the cinema, so I'm really excited to right that wrong.
Is it going to be a sing-along one, though?
I fucking hope not. There will be tears at the end. I'm almost certain of it. Brilliant film.
No, you wouldn't get a sing-along version of my number one, which is Cloverfield. It'd be full of, you wouldn't wonder what we were rambling on about still. You know, we mentioned it last time with the Blair Witch, but this is just an evolution of that. It's on a slightly bigger budget and done incredibly well. That moment where you saw the Empire State, not the Empire, the Statue of Liberty head coming down the street for the first time, like genuine shock. Like, you obviously saw it, all of the Planet of the Apes stuff, and what have they done? But this was different to that. This is like, fucking hell. This is something we actually never have seen before, and it's proper impactful, and hiding it away for so long, and almost entirely, really, was the best thing.
Clever move that was.
Obviously, they had to, because they had no choice, because they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
But again, you worry what you've got, and by doing that, by having the restrictions, it makes it a 10 times better film than any of the normal, like, shit kaiju films like Pacific Rim. However fun they are, they're not as impactful and as excellent as Cloverfield is.
I think you've touched on something there with the kaiju. Americans don't know how to do a good kaiju film.
Never had them, have we?
Like
We don't get kaiju over here in the West.
the Japanese, they understand it. I think it's because obviously it means something there. Whereas like the Western adaptations, they tend to be very surface level. Where
Right.
yeah, yeah. But no, Cloverfield's excellent. I didn't see it until years after. I don't know why I never bothered with it originally. I saw it when 10 Cloverfield Lane came out,
Mm.
and I wanted to see that, so I thought I'm going to watch Cloverfield then, and that was the only reason I gave it a chance. And then like I immediately regretted not watching it sooner because it's a very good film.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, is it 88 minutes because that's how long an iPhone can last?
Yeah.
And recording. So that is such a clever thing to do. Such a small detail that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. The battery drain I presume it was an iPhone. It's been a long time since I watched it. But or a camcorder. It's definitely battery related though. That's the point of it all.
Yeah. Smart move. Really smart move, that is.
And there's a lot you can see where they've hidden things as well, if you really look closely. But then at the same time, you watch it for the first time, you think, yeah, you're not looking for that kind of stuff. You're just looking and you're watching it and you think, this is kind of exactly how this would play out. It's exactly how you'd see things. And or you get it sometimes where you get perspective films and it's slightly off, like they look too tall or too short, where you're holding the cameras and it's quite, you've obviously just got a bloke wearing a GoPro or some kind of body cam. But how this was done was perfect. And it still holds up now.
Yeah, it does. Right, okay. Quick break, and then we'll be back to talk about Nick Cage's directorial film, Sonny. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for the final part of the podcast. Stu, funny. This was something. This was that's as polite as I can be about this film, I think. This was a weird film for a Nick Cage directorial debut.
There's probably a reason why it's his debut and his only film. I couldn't. This looks like it was made. I mean, maybe that's the point. Maybe he's too visionary for us all. It looks like one of his the early films that he was in the 80s. It just looks. There's something not quite right. It looks too TV film, and obviously it quite easily could be, but it looks out of time.
Yeah, I mean, I looked to like try and get a sense of what the story was after watching it. It says that it is James Franco plays Sonny Phillips, man returning to New Orleans in the early 80s after serving in the army. Now, I remember them saying that it was New Orleans, but I don't remember them saying that it was the 80s in this film. And it kind of feels out of time with everything. Maybe that's a choice that they made, was that you can watch it at any point and you don't particularly need to be placed in there. But there's nothing about this film that sets it anywhere, which seems really bizarre. Like one of the criticisms that I've got is the fact that as well, they've set it in New Orleans, and I've not been to New Orleans, but I know that New Orleans is a jazzy party town, which is very hot, very humid. It's very oppressive. And you would not know that from watching this film because none of that happens in this movie. New Orleans, other than that being in part of the title card at the start of the film, it plays absolutely no role in this. Why bother telling us it's New Orleans and not use any of the tropes that New Orleans brings to it?
It doesn't even look like New Orleans either.
No.
The buildings are not ones that use, again, from Wolverhampton. and looking through films and TV shows and games and stuff, you get a vibe of, like what Andy said, that you get a vibe of what New Orleans is and the kind of thing that goes down there. This is not that. This is like, no, I watched this yesterday morning and I'd already forgotten that it was in New Orleans. And
yeah,
You see, it looks like it's like the buildings look like New York,
Mhm.
and
They're just utterly, I wouldn't even say New York. I'd say they're just completely nondescript. It could be any town in anywhere, and the reason you know it's America is because they speak with American accents.
well,
Yeah. I mean, Brenda Blethyn, I wonder if they said New Orleans because Brenda Blethyn's accent is all over the fucking place.
how do
And it's the closest. Like, it's just weird as shit. I don't know what she was doing in this film. I'm not convinced she does either.
No, she's completely wasted. I mean, why is she being used like this? Is Brenda Blethyn? Surely this cost more money to cast her in this film than getting someone from actually America. Not even New Orleans, just any old woman or any woman. What is she, like 50s, early 60s, maybe? Looking at
Something
her.
like that, yeah.
I mean, it's the fact that she's pimped out her son anyway is a very strange move. And maybe it's because we know who she is, and it's a very out of character to play something like this, and it's just
Yeah.
so utterly bizarre that it just doesn't seem to work. But the whole thing, I didn't know anything about it other than
No.
what we I just went in thinking, and then she's like, yeah, this woman or whatever. I was like, oh, okay, so she's hired this woman to be with him, and then the way she's talking, and it's like, oh yeah, she used to pimp him out.
Yeah.
And that scene with the woman where she's when he pulls and he tells her about, only women are whores. No, before the army and all this, and then she goes and starts drinking the cough medicine in the bathroom.
Did laugh at drinking the cough medicine and he loses his shit over it.
Yeah,
And like, of all if he's anti-drugs, okay, fine, it makes sense. But why would cough medicine be the thing that causes you to go absolutely batshit? Like, if she's shooting up, like, okay, I get it, but no cough medicine.
I
It's so weird.
mean, unless he was taking it like a thing that she was having this cough medicine because he said he's a rent boy,
Mm.
and that maybe she's healing herself, and he's seeing it that way. But that's probably thinking too much into it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else has thought that much about anything that's happened. Like, I was kind of wondering, like, do you remember the Saved by the Bell episode where Jesse gets hooked on caffeine pills? And that was supposed to be an allegory for being hooked on actual proper hard substances, not caffeine. But I wondered if that's it. But this isn't a Lifetime TV movie, even though it fucking looks and feels like one. It isn't one. So they could have just spoke about actual drugs. Such a weird thing. So basically, the film is about Sonny Phillips returning from being in the army to escape his past as a male prostitute. He's then forced back into the trade because a number of things don't go his way. He becomes friendly with Carol, who is played by Mina Savari, a new recruit at the brothel, and they dream of escaping together. Mina Savari felt very incorrectly cast in this film. Like, she's especially at this point in the world, we know her from American Pie films. That's probably her biggest thing, that and Loser. She feels really miscast as this sort of jaded but fresh-faced hooah. Like, it just doesn't work at any point. We're supposed to think she's this older person than she is, but also she's supposed to be young and vulnerable. It just doesn't work. The character is balanced so badly throughout this movie. I think everyone's kind of badly miscast in this film, apart from maybe Franco. I'm 50-50 on him, as I generally am as an actor. I feel like he often gets the assignment, like he knows what he's doing, even if he's miscast. I think he tries, maybe. It's just all over the place, this film is.
I think the best one in this was, when he's in the store buying the suit, and there's that one who's asking him about the things, and it's a shame. I thought she was actually probably the most real of everyone else.
Yeah.
And for her age, though, not bad. It's probably this is when my mind was on a Sunday morning. But you know, with the fact that he just throws things around, destroys things when he gets mad or he gets underpaid. It's like, yeah, okay, you know what's going to happen? He's going to smash something up, and he's just carried on through the film. But there was the moment where he goes mad about the cough medicine, and then he goes back to his mom, and then it just cuts and he's in bed. I thought, oh no, and it's not.
I fully expected him to fuck his mother at some point.
Yeah, and
Like,
it wasn't
fully
her.
expected it. Yeah,
Very bizarre.
it is. One good thing that came out of this film, Stu, apparently Tommy Wiseau is a big fan of this film.
Oh, of course he is.
And this is the film that made him realise that James Franco could portray him in The Disaster Artist. Because there are parts, like the bits where he is losing his shit and throwing stuff around. I thought, this is very Tommy Wiseau. This is very roomy. And it then leads to The Disaster Artist, so you can fully see that.
You know, the whole thing with Albert and Henry, like, why were they? What was the point of them?
I mean, the one being his father.
Yeah, after he got
think
killed by a truck.
Yeah, like I sort of get it, because then we see him again lose his shit and his life goes down that path whilst Mina Savaris is going down a separate path. Like I get that, like that one tiny strand that he's running through it, but it's just not enough to warrant their inclusion in this film.
No.
I thought it was sincere. Like they didn't shy away from the realities of sex work. Like they're not glamorizing it. This isn't Pretty Woman. That's about as much praise as I can particularly give this film, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's fair. And the whole thing about them, where she says to him as well, like, so it's 300, and I know it's 200, and she would, that's all I'm paying you. And so, yeah, you can kind of easily see that flip the genders here, and women getting this kind of deal, and getting beaten up for it, if they're not taking money up front. Yeah, it's probably an unnecessary thing to be looking into it with, and they probably don't mean for this to be there, but maybe it has got a place in this world, this film. But there's other bits as well, like, I mean, I guess it's part of the crazy. That montage of him driving down the road with the music on.
What the fuck was that about? I can understand like the traveling aspect of it and showing it happening, but it felt like it went on for fucking ages.
And all the like the quick cuts and things. Like, if you say, what is a Nicolas Cage film look like? This is kind of what I thought it would be. Like all the kind of like the mad cut things and things that don't quite make sense, like why it had like a TV show boom arm when they went back to his mom's house as well. Like, it's obviously not a drone in 2002. It's obviously a camera and an arm, which would have been expensive to carry out just for this very strange panning shot of a house that's clearly not in New Orleans.
Yeah, just utterly unwarranted, isn't it? So Cage does have a cameo in this film as a pimp right at the end. He's the only character. Look, I feel like everybody in this film, apart from James Franco, is a cartoon character. This is almost Bob Hoskins in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because there's one human and everyone else is a cartoon character. Cage is the only cartoon character in this film that needed to be a cartoon character. Like, he needed to be over the top and silly, because we're seeing it through Franco's eyes, who is high as fuck at this point. Like, he's lost his mojo completely. He's out of it at this point. So seeing Cage as Acid Yellow, was that the character's name? Wearing this ridiculous yellow suit. And that's the only one that he's the only character I felt was sort of well cast, because it was Nick Cage doing the crazy Cage stuff that he needed to do for that character. But he's in it for all of like 90 seconds, so it doesn't really have much of a bearing.
And like that one where he turned up and smiled at camera and then drove away again, where he was in it for even less than that.
Never on a Tuesday, yeah. You know,
Could be-
weird fake nose.
Yeah, could be the same bloke.
100%. That would make more sense, actually, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the cinematic universe of Never on a Tuesday. But this guy is turned into a pimp after he's driven away from there. And I mean, we can technically say it was Cage good because in that role he was. Now,
Yeah.
you can't imagine anyone else pulling that off.
No, not at all. I agree with that completely.
Directed himself. This is actually what's in his own mind, clearly.
It's got to be. So I've not been able to find why Nick Cage decided to direct this film. So I thought I'll ask AI to see if it can search for something. Nicolas Cage directed Sonny as a deeply personal and ambitious creative endeavour. While he hasn't spoken extensively about his motivations in mainstream interviews, several factors help explain his decision. Creative curiosity, because Cage has obviously wanted to explore the boundaries of storytelling and performance. Challenging subject matter. This is obviously about male prostitution, maternal control, emotional trauma, and is rarely depicted in American cinema. Cage seemed to be drawn to taboo and tragic dimensions of the story, which aligned with his tastes. Personal connections, which I don't really think works, but it says some critics and fans have speculated that Cage saw elements of himself in the story. Don't think that's right. And directorial ambitions. What? But if he's got any directorial ambitions, we would have seen more, and we haven't. I do think Cage is very much a creative force on most of his films. I do think he gives a lot to his characters. I don't know that he's got directorial ambitions because we've seen nothing more, and I don't feel like this film really shows a lot of directorial flair either. So I'm not convinced about any of those. It feels like they've just thrown shit at the wall with this one.
I mean, it might be the case that he did this and then realised, I don't like this at all. I'll never do this again.
Yeah, very much the way I'm leaning on this is that this turned him off doing it ever again. I did look into the writer of this film, John Carlin. John Carlin, reportedly born in a Dallas house of prostitution run by his great-grandmother, who oversaw a criminal empire. Carlin was jailed for being a quote-unquote male hustler, I don't know if that means prostitution, and a bank robber. He got his start in the film industry as an advisor working with both Dustin Hoffman and Harry Dean Stanton, who is also in this film, on their portrayal as bank robbers. His screenplay for Sonny, directed by Nicolas Cage, was loosely based on his own life. When you look at this, John Carlin's other films, this is the last film he wrote. He's got a few other credits here and there. He's got very little. He passed away in 2009. All of his other films are like very middle of the roady. They look like straight to TV stuff. So if this is his legacy, it's not much of one.
No.
Stu, did you enjoy the film?
Not particularly. It was more out of disbelief and a few giggles in the inappropriate parts than anything else. But that's not enjoyable. This has never been watched again.
No, I've got the same. Like, I like the idea how it's a film about a man in dire straits who feels like he's taking the only decisions that are available to him, not knowing the greater long-term costs. Like, it's interesting idea that I just don't think works because there's long stretches where it's really dry and really dull. The pacing's really bad. The tone is all over the place. Like, it swings from melodrama to unwitting comedy. It doesn't work. It's incoherent, this film is ultimately, and like, it does have a strange charm to the unwitting comedy moments, and it's worth watching just because it's Cage's only directorial film. But I wouldn't recommend it to anybody who isn't doing a Cage deep dive because it's not
No.
worth it. Cage as an actor, good or bad?
Good. He's
Yeah,
he did what he did what he had to.
Yeah.
Probably above and beyond again.
I agree. Like, it's not the best cameo you'll ever see in a film, but he's going to get a passing grade for this because he did what he needed to do in that particular role at that particular point of this film. It's a good. Like, I kind of don't want to give it him because it's shit, but it needed to be.
Yeah.
Cage as a director, good or bad?
He wasn't great, was he? It seems a bit all out there, which is on brand. That doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the best, not the worst. You could kind of tell that it was him, like I mentioned, because of the strangeness of some of the scenes, but nah, not really.
Yeah, like you can see why he's never really directed again. There's not much flair to this film that comes from director. It feels quite paint by numbers, which as an actor, you don't associate that with Nick Cage in pretty much any of his roles. It has the hallmarks of a Lifetime TV movie, which I would expect better of Cage. Like, I don't think he would star in a film like this, so I don't know why he's made a film like this.
Yeah.
I like that he attempted to tackle difficult subject matter, but as I said, the tone's off, the pacing's off. Like, I heard a story yesterday on that podcast I recommended to you, the last podcast on the left, where Kevin Smith is talking about some advice that he got as a director. Someone told him, when you're shooting two people talking, don't shoot it in front of a wall, shoot it in front of a window. So you see them talking, but the world is there behind them. And there is none of that in this film. This is two people talking in front of a wall every time. Everything is just shown on screen. There is no depth of field to anything. And it's like, I feel for his first attempt at it, it is a commendable effort, but they just didn't stick the landing at all in this film. So it's a bad in the directorial column for me. Finally, Stu, if you enjoyed Sonny, you may also like, what have you got?
You've already mentioned it, The Room, because it's a film that thinks it's good and it's really not at all, and you're gonna have a better time watching that than this.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's more of the unwitting comedy, and none of the unwitting comedy probably just come from the melodrama in the the two films that I've put. So I've got one, keeping it cagey. If you want a better representation of New Orleans, Bad Lieutenant, Portugal, New Orleans, I think it is the film.
At least it's
Yeah, it's seedier than this. It is sexier than this. It's funnier and it's grimmer than this. So that's the one. Outside of Cage, about a man who can't escape his history, a history of violence. I think he's probably Viggo Mortensen's best role and best film, controversially. Ed Harris is playing a scary villain like only Ed Harris can play. Great film. Mortensen plays a former hitman who tries to escape his history and live a quiet, normal life, but then gets caught up when a former or a mobster from another family finds him. It's a great film. It's a film that I saw it at the cinema and I didn't enjoy it for whatever reason. And then years later, I revisited it and I was like, actually, this film is absolutely fantastic. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just time and a place thing when I saw it that I just didn't quite click with me. But on repeat viewing, yeah, excellent film. Completely got that one wrong on my first watching, I think. Right, okay. So next week, we'll be reviewing January to June. We'll actually be doing that over the next 2 weeks. We will be watching Racing with the Moon from Nick Cage. It's one of his 80s films. It is one of his films with Francis Ford Coppola, I believe, with Uncle Franny. Racing with the Moon, starring Sean Penn. In 1942 California, two young men await induction into the US Marines and say goodbye to their girlfriends. Yeah, so we've got Sean Penn, Elizabeth Elizabeth McGovern, Nick Cage. I don't know any of the people. Oh, Max Showalter. Crispin Glover, we know him. Though there's a few people whose faces you know. Oh, so this is the one with Richard Benjamin. The other film that we'll be watching the week after, The Cotton Club. That's with Uncle Francis. I don't know what to expect of this. I'm hoping it's not like Birdie, is all I can think.
Oh, no.
So, fingers crossed. Right, make sure that you subscribe to whatever podcast you listen to us on, and a review, 5 stars would be phenomenal. Get us on the socials at Cage Fighting Pod, and then the emails to cagefightingpod@gmail.com. For this week, Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
Yeah, goodbye, everyone. Remember, wear sunscreen.
It's goodbye from me too, and remember, be excellent to each other.